two royal women, one crown, and a silent feud that lasted 16 years. From their very first meeting in June 1981, Princess Anne saw Diana not as an ally, but as a disruption. Snubs, cold shoulders, and sharp glances followed. But was it jealousy? Or something deeper? This isn't just a royal rivalry. It's a clash between tradition and transformation. Let's uncover what really happened behind palace walls, and why Princess Anne never truly accepted Diana. First impressions. In June 1981, just 1 month before the July 29th royal wedding, Princess Diana arrived at Ascot Racecourse wearing her debut royal hat, an eager bride-to-be seeking acceptance within the House of Windsor. The air was tense. As Diana curtsied nervously, Princess Anne, aged 31, stood with arms crossed in the royal enclosure. Anne reportedly remarked, "A silly girl," a whisper that cut the joyful chatter. That crisp exchange, one curt nod and a harsh comment at 3:15 p.m., set a tone of icy formality that would echo for years. Diana, just 19, tried to connect. She complimented Anne on her equestrian skills, recalling Anne's Olympic success in 1976. Yet, Anne looked straight through her. On that glossy turf at 4 o'clock, Diana's charm-first style collided head-on with Anne's duty-driven demeanor. According to Vanity Fair, Diana's bright costume and social ease contrasted sharply with Anne's workhorse reputation. That moment didn't just cause discomfort. It laid the emotional groundwork for a long, prickly relationship. Anne, born August 15, 1950, carried with her a disciplined ethos forged from military upbringing. She'd been dubbed the hardest-working royal by 1980, having completed over 200 official engagements that year. She believed royalty served quietly and with purpose. Diana, on the other hand, was a fresh-faced symbol of modernity, a media magnet trained on public affection. Her every move, from that first Ascot wave to magazine interviews, made Anne bristle. It wasn't just personality, it was philosophy, tradition versus spotlight. By the time the evening sun set on June 20th, Ascot had revealed the fault lines. Diana left with a strained smile. Anne probably returned to Buckingham with silent judgment. Some aides whispered that Anne later told friends, "She doesn't know her place." While Diana confided in her sister, "Anne froze me out." This encounter at Ascot remains a pivotal moment, capturing two sisters-in-law at opposite ends of the royal spectrum, setting the stage for a complex, emotionally charged bond. As the Ascot dust settled, the seeds of discord between Diana and Anne sprouted into a wider clash. Over the coming year, their divergence would become more public, entwining the royal family's struggle between centuries-old protocol and a new era of media fascination. Their paths would cross again in moments both fleeting and significant. Understanding this initial encounter helps frame the next chapter: how Diana's rising star irritated Anne's traditionalist temperament, cementing a rivalry that echoed through every royal appearance in 1981-1982. Clashing styles. Following the strained first encounter at Ascot in June 1981, things didn't smooth out between Princess Diana and Princess Anne. They got worse. Once Diana married Prince Charles on July 29, 1981, she was instantly transformed from shy debutante to global phenomenon. Within weeks, Diana graced the front pages of nearly every major newspaper. During one trip to Wales in October 1981, she drew crowds of over 50,000, dwarfing Anne's appearances just months earlier. Anne, who had spent years building her reputation quietly, saw this sudden fame with visible discomfort. While Anne was a master of silent duty, clocking over 220 engagements in 1981 alone, Diana dazzled with a different kind of energy. She smiled warmly at crowds, touched hands, posed for photographs, and even laughed with reporters. It was a modern royal language, one Anne never embraced. In contrast, Anne's cold demeanor and refusal to entertain press questions made her seem rigid. "She treats royal duty like a military march," said a palace aide, comparing Anne's formality to Diana's emotional presence. Their public appearances became silent battles. Applause for Diana, polite nods for Anne. In early 1982, Diana's pregnancy announcement added another layer of contrast. As cameras followed her every step, Anne avoided the press altogether, continuing her quiet visits to charities and farms. When Diana appeared in a soft pink maternity dress at St. Paul's Cathedral, photographers scrambled. Anne, arriving moments later in uniform gray, was barely noticed. By March 1982, British tabloids openly compared the two: the people's princess versus the palace professional. It wasn't just the media. Within palace walls, staff sensed that. Anne saw Diana's style not as charming, but as disruptive. Behind closed doors, tensions brewed. Anne reportedly mocked Diana's approach, saying, "She's playing actress, not princess." Diana, for her part, confided in her bodyguard, "Anne never smiles at me." Their feud was no longer private. It was embedded in the fabric of royal life, shaping how engagements were scheduled and how press was handled. By the end of 1982, the royal family faced a new internal dilemma: how to balance Anne's silent service with Diana's magnetic appeal, without one undermining the other. As the public image of Diana soared through 1982, her relationship with Anne grew colder behind the scenes. Royal events became emotionally tense zones, crowded with press, watchers, and unspoken tension. But it was Christmas at Sandringham in 1981, ironically meant to foster family unity, that triggered one of the earliest emotional cracks between the two women. A single holiday gift would turn a royal tradition into a moment of personal humiliation, and it would be remembered for decades. The gag gift incident. Every royal Christmas at Sandringham House includes a little-known tradition: the gag gift exchange. It's a light-hearted, private moment meant to ease formal pressure. Senior royals give one another joke presents. Past examples include a singing hamster, a fake tongue, or even a shower cap. But in December 1981, just months into her royal life, Diana hadn't yet been briefed on the unwritten rules. Wanting to make a warm impression on her new sister-in-law, Diana selected an elegant cashmere sweater, wrapped carefully in gold paper. Princess Anne didn't appreciate the gesture. In return, she offered Diana a toilet roll holder, a joke item meant for a more seasoned royal. To the rest of the family, it was harmless. But Diana, only 20 years old, was mortified. Her inexperience had unintentionally highlighted her status as an outsider. "She looked crushed," recalled a former footman. "It was the first time I saw her visibly shaken in the family's presence." The incident became a defining moment, not because of the gift, but because of Anne's reaction. The cashmere to toilet roll exchange symbolized more than just a joke gone wrong. It exposed a clear lack of warmth between Diana and Anne. While other royals laughed and moved on, Diana spent the afternoon withdrawn in the drawing room, speaking only to Charles and the Queen. According to one biographer, that holiday, Anne made no effort to bridge the gap. She showed no remorse. This coldness, whether intentional or not, confirmed Diana's worst fear: that she didn't belong in the family that she had just married into. By New Year's Day 1982, Diana had already begun referring to Anne privately as unapproachable. The palace tried to spin the story as a funny misunderstanding, but staff who witnessed the moment knew better. Anne's silent rebuke spoke volumes, and Diana's emotional sensitivity made it sting even more. Anne thinks she's above warmth, Diana allegedly told her friend Carolyn. The gag gift debacle didn't start their feud, but it gave it a memorable chapter that neither would forget. The Sandringham gift episode marked a low point, but it was only the beginning. In the years that followed, Anne and Diana's strained dynamic would spill into family milestones. Two of the most emotionally sensitive moments, the christenings of William in 1984 and Harry in 1985, would draw public attention to what insiders already knew. Anne and Diana were on completely different pages. And when Diana left Anne off the godmother list, it wasn't just a snub, it was a statement. Ignored and omitted. When Prince William was born on June 21, 1982, the world rejoiced. The media fixated on the newborn heir, but within palace walls, a quieter drama unfolded. By 1984, Diana and Charles were preparing for William's christening, and speculation swirled around who would be chosen as godparents. Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter, had naturally expected to be asked. After all, she was William's aunt, a senior royal, and had supported Charles through his troubled courtship. But when the list was announced, her name was not on it. Instead, Diana and Charles chose close friends like Caroline Bartholomew, who had been Diana's flatmate, and Lord Romsey, a Mountbatten relative. According to Vanity Fair, Anne was shocked and hurt. She didn't confront the couple, but she didn't hide her reaction either. At the christening, she arrived late, said little, and exited swiftly. For Anne, who valued tradition and rank, being overlooked wasn't just insulting, it was a sign that Diana was rewriting royal protocol to fit her own circle. The situation escalated further when Prince Harry was born on September 15, 1984, and his christening was set for December 1985. Anne, perhaps thinking the earlier omission was accidental, again expected to be honored. She was not. This time, according to palace staff, Anne didn't even pretend to be available. She scheduled a shooting party in Gloucestershire for the same day. While the official excuse was a pre-arranged engagement, few believed it. That was Anne's way of saying, "You cut me out twice, now I cut you off," said royal correspondent James Whittaker. Diana, for her part, confided to a friend, "Anne thinks I'm shallow, but she doesn't understand me at all." From Anne's view, Diana had once again put sentiment above duty. But for Diana, the decision was emotional, not tactical. She chose godparents based on bonds of trust, not bloodlines. Unfortunately, those choices triggered deep resentment. By 1986, Anne and Diana's relationship had become distant and ceremonial, sharing space at royal functions, but never closeness. The godparent snubs were no small matter. In the world of royal hierarchy, they were sharp, unmistakable messages. The godparent exclusions added lasting frost to Anne and Diana's already strained dynamic. But their personal tension was soon mirrored on a broader stage, the press. As Diana's stardom soared, Anne watched with growing discomfort. While Anne had spent decades cultivating royal duty without spectacle, Diana embraced the public eye with open arms. It was more than a generational gap. It became a philosophical war between duty and celebrity. And soon, Anne wasn't just irritated, she was publicly critical. Media versus royal protocol. By 1986, Princess Diana had become the most photographed woman in the world. Every appearance, whether at a hospital in Leeds, a gala in New York, or even the landmine visit in Angola, was front-page material. Princess Anne, despite conducting nearly 400 engagements annually, received a fraction of the coverage. She was blunt about it in private circles. According to royal reporter Richard Kay, Anne said Diana diminished the stature of royalty by courting the media and putting emotion ahead of institution. Anne, born in 1950, had long internalized the Queen's mantra, "Never complain, never explain." She saw the royal role as a silent service, not a performance. Diana, however, knew how to connect with people and the camera. Her body language was expressive, her clothes intentional. At a 1987 AIDS clinic visit, she touched a patient's hand, breaking a stigma and protocol. Anne reportedly told a friend, "It's not about headlines, it's about consistency." That comment, though never confirmed, aligned with Anne's entire approach to public life. Diana wasn't blind to the criticism. In 1991, she told a close aide, "Anne thinks I'm playing to the crowd, but I do this because I care." To many, Diana represented the future of the monarchy. Accessible, emotional, modern. But to Anne, she was a royal outlier, a disruptor. "She doesn't have time for duty," Anne once said, according to Showbiz Cheat Sheet. The difference wasn't just how they worked, it was why they worked. For Anne, service came first. For Diana, it was compassion that drove her royal role. As media obsession around Diana intensified through the early 1990s, Anne's frustration turned to resignation. She could no longer compete for headlines, and didn't want to. But behind palace walls, she worried about precedent. Would future royals feel obligated to chase attention? To Anne, the answer had to be no. The clash between the sisters-in-law wasn't about jealousy. It was a collision of worldviews, one forged in the image of Queen Elizabeth II, the other shaped by modern media and human empathy. And neither was willing or able to yield. Even as their contrasting philosophies spilled into press coverage, both women kept their cool in public. But the pressure to deny any personal feud only added to the strain. In 1985, both Diana and Anne gave interviews that downplayed rumors of division. Yet behind closed doors, palace insiders saw a different story. Two royal women walking parallel paths with increasing silence between them. What followed next was a fragile dance of public diplomacy, even as private tensions simmered. Public denials and private tension. By 1985, royal watchers were already whispering about a feud between Princess Diana and Princess Anne. Despite rising tension behind the scenes, both women made calculated efforts to keep up appearances. That year, Diana gave a cheerful interview claiming, "I'm her biggest fan. We've always hit it off." It was a classic Diana move, disarmingly charming, deflecting controversy with a smile. The quote, delivered during a charity event in November 1985, calmed the press, but only temporarily. Not long after, Princess Anne made an appearance on the BBC's Wogan. When asked about her relationship with Diana, she replied with a tight smile, "There have been tales, but we haven't exactly not hit it off." The ambiguity was telling. Royal insiders noted the tension in Anne's body language. One courtier recalled, "She didn't deny anything. She left room for interpretation." Behind the polished image, the women's relationship had grown cold, reduced to forced greetings and silent nods at formal events. Palace aides noticed that Diana and Anne began requesting separate arrival times at royal functions. During Trooping the Colour in June 1985, Diana arrived early and left promptly, while Anne kept to her own schedule. Even seating charts at state dinners were managed to avoid putting the two next to each other. Their public smiles were just that, public. Behind them lay months of emotional disconnect and quiet avoidance. By the end of 1985, it was clear to many in the royal circle that the divide wasn't going away. The two women had mastered the art of polite detachment. While Diana's interviews radiated warmth, and Anne's words remained clipped but neutral, the reality was colder. As one former royal advisor later said, they never shouted at each other. They simply froze each other out. Their feud had no dramatic showdown, just years of subtle avoidance and mutual frustration. Even as they kept up public appearances, the ideological differences between Anne and Diana deepened. Their views on duty, privacy, and emotion had always clashed. But it was the looming presence of Camilla Parker Bowles that would bring a new dimension to their tension. Diana's heartbreak was becoming increasingly public, and Anne, ever loyal to tradition, didn't approve of Diana's tell-all approach. In the coming years, their silent feud would be colored by scandal, one that exposed private pain on a very public stage. Anne's loyalty to tradition. By 1992, the royal family was caught in a storm of headlines: marital troubles, phone leaks, and explosive interviews. For Diana, the pain of Charles's long-standing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles was unbearable. But for Anne, the scandal was just as offensive, though for different reasons. Anne viewed the public drama as a violation of royal dignity. She didn't just blame Charles or Camilla, she disapproved of Diana's decision to air personal grievances on television, especially during the 1995 Panorama interview. Anne's loyalty wasn't to Charles specifically, it was to tradition. She had long known about Charles and Camilla's friendship and reportedly found Camilla more emotionally stable than Diana. According to insiders, Anne once remarked, "Diana talks too much. Camilla knows how to keep quiet." That view reflected Anne's core belief: royal family members must endure, not expose. During the Squidgygate and Camillagate scandals of 1992 and 1993, Diana's vulnerability was on display, but Anne saw only chaos. In 1994, when Charles admitted his affair with Camilla in a televised documentary, Diana was devastated. Anne, on the other hand, appeared unfazed. Her focus wasn't on romantic betrayal. It was on the damage to the monarchy's image. She reportedly told a confidant, "We're not soap opera stars, we're royals." For Anne, the press frenzy, interviews, and public sympathy were distractions from what really mattered: duty, protocol, and self-restraint. Anne's traditionalism hardened her view of Diana's emotional openness. In one infamous moment during a family lunch at Highgrove, Anne allegedly said, "We've all had problems. Some of us just get on with it." Diana left the room in tears. The Camilla-Charles affair had certainly hurt Diana personally, but it also became another battlefield between her and Anne. To Anne, Diana's openness was dangerous. To Diana, Anne's coldness was inhuman, and neither was willing to change. As the 1990s progressed, the strain between Diana and Anne became nearly impossible to conceal. Their relationship, once formal and awkward, had shifted into something colder, marked by avoidance and quiet contempt. By 1995, they were barely interacting at all, and soon, their discomfort turned into calculated distance. Royal events were choreographed to keep them apart. But the most telling sign of the divide came not in what they said, but in how they avoided saying anything at all. A cold shoulder. By 1996, a year before Diana's tragic death, her interactions with Princess Anne had reduced to the bare minimum. "If Anne's there, I'm off," Diana reportedly told her private secretary during a garden party at Kensington Palace. It was more than a passing comment. It was a clear strategy. Diana had grown tired of cold glances and clipped remarks. Anne, meanwhile, seemed content to ignore her completely. Their feud had evolved into something almost mechanical. Show up, nod, leave. According to staff accounts, Anne would make rather cutting comments just loud enough to be heard, commenting on Diana's choice of dress or how long she stayed at engagements. In June 1996, at a charity banquet for Save the Children, Anne reportedly remarked, "She's here to smile, not to serve," when Diana entered the room. Those words were never said publicly, but multiple staff confirmed the tone. Diana stayed just 45 minutes before leaving early. Again. The avoidance extended to family milestones. At Prince Harry's Eton welcome ceremony in September 1996, both Anne and Diana were present, but never made eye contact. Photographers noticed the seating gap between them, and tabloids speculated endlessly. By now, even the public had picked up on the rift. "It's like a silent war," one royal correspondent noted. "No shouting, just frost." Their feud had stopped being news because it had become the norm. But what was perhaps most telling was that neither woman tried to fix it. Anne never apologized. Diana never confronted her. Their feud existed in whispers, glances, and cold shoulders. As Diana's life moved into its final year, their relationship remained unresolved. It had never exploded, but it had quietly unraveled over 15 years, from that first awkward Ascot greeting in June 1981 to their final formal appearance together in early 1997. Yet for all the coldness and unspoken jabs, what happened after Diana's death would reveal a different side of Princess Anne, one that few ever saw. While Anne may have failed to connect with Diana in life, she showed unexpected grace in the wake of her death. Her quiet support of Prince Harry at Balmoral marked a turning point, a moment that showed Anne's values, though strict, still made space for compassion. The final chapters of their story weren't about feud, but about family. After the tragedy. On August 31, 1997, the world awoke to shocking news. Princess Diana, age 36, had died in a car crash in Paris. Grief swept across the globe, but within the royal family, emotions were complicated. While public focus was on Princes William, 15, and Harry, 12, the spotlight also turned to how senior royals responded behind closed doors. Many were surprised by the quiet, composed role Princess Anne played, especially in supporting Harry through those first painful days at Balmoral Castle. Anne, then 47 years old, stepped into an unexpected role. While she hadn't been close to Diana in life, she instinctively offered support where it mattered. Reports emerged that she took Harry riding in the Scottish Highlands the morning after Diana's death, just the two of them and a royal groom. A palace source later shared, "She didn't talk much. She just let Harry be a boy in grief." This gesture spoke volumes. Where words failed, action stepped in. Unlike some royals who stayed away from emotional display, Anne showed subtle compassion. She helped William and Harry walk the estate, fed the horses with them, and allowed them the quiet space to grieve. In the BBC documentary The Princes and the Press, 2017, Harry recalled how certain members of the family just showed up for us without saying anything. Though he didn't name Anne, insiders believe she was one of them. That week at Balmoral proved that Anne's loyalty to tradition didn't exclude moments of real humanity. Yet, even amid this care, Anne reportedly told a friend, "We all failed her. in different ways. The comment reflected an understanding that despite the years of coldness and distance, Diana's tragedy had left everyone changed. It was not an emotional reconciliation between Anne and Diana. It was a recognition. In the end, their relationship concluded not in peace, but in legacy. Anne's support of Diana's sons didn't undo the past, but it honored something greater: family duty at its quietest and most meaningful. The death of Diana drew a line under years of royal tension, but it also forced reflection. For Princess Anne, who had long viewed Diana's style as disruptive, the aftermath showed how powerful that disruption truly was. Diana had changed the monarchy forever, whether Anne approved or not. In the years that followed, their story became symbolic. Two royal women whose clash of values mirrored the monarchy's fight for survival in a changing world. Their complex relationship now lives on as both history and warning. Legacy and reflection. Looking back, the feud between Princess Diana and Princess Anne wasn't about petty jealousy. It was about fundamental differences in worldview. Anne, born in 1950, was molded in Queen Elizabeth II's shadow, reserved, dutiful, and trained to stay out of headlines. Diana, born July 1, 1960, represented a seismic cultural shift. She was emotional, media-savvy, and unafraid to speak truth, even when it made others uncomfortable. Their conflict wasn't just personal, it was institutional. As one royal historian put it, they were avatars of two very different crowns. By 2022, on the 25th anniversary of Diana's death, documentaries and retrospectives re-examined this clash. Anne was rarely mentioned, but for keen royal observers, her silence over the years became part of the story. She never disrespected Diana in public, but she never supported her either, said royal biographer Penny Junor. That silence, deliberate or not, became a form of commentary. Diana's legacy grew louder over time. Anne's remained steady, almost untouched, but distant. Diana's popularity reshaped royal expectations. Her sons, especially William, have embraced elements of her openness. Kate Middleton's warmth with the public, Meghan Markle's emotional interviews, and even Harry's decision to speak candidly in Spare 2023 all stem from Diana's influence. Anne, however, has remained consistent. Quiet service, minimal media, no emotion on display. It's a legacy of loyalty, but also rigidity. In a changing world, Diana's authenticity made her a global icon. Anne's restraint made her respected, but rarely beloved. In the end, the relationship between Princess Diana and Princess Anne wasn't just about two women. It reflected a monarchy at a crossroads, one foot in the past, one stumbling into the future. Their feud, marked by snubs, silence, and cultural divergence, remains a compelling window into what happens when tradition and change are forced to coexist. Anne may have stood for endurance. Diana stood for empathy. And their story shows us that sometimes, even royalty can't bridge the gap between the two. Princess Anne and Princess Diana were never meant to be alike. One believed in quiet duty, the other in emotional connection. Their story wasn't loud, but it was powerful. It revealed how deeply the royal family resists change and what it costs when empathy enters a system built on silence. In the end, Diana changed the monarchy. Anne stayed loyal to the crown, and their cold, careful distance still echoes through royal history to this day.